Welcome to this explainer. I absolutely love taking seemingly everyday gardening problems and reverse engineering the fascinating science behind them. Today, we've got a fantastic real-world case study that perfectly illustrates just how much vital information is hiding right in plain sight in our gardens, if we just know how to look for it.
I mean, plants can't exactly speak to us, right? But they absolutely communicate. They're constantly giving us updates through subtle changes in their leaves and stems. So today, we are going to crack the code on a very specific, kind of intimidating-sounding warning sign. If you've ever watched a plant turn yellow and felt completely helpless, well, this explainer is going to change the way you look at your garden for sure.
Section 1. Meet the patient.
Okay, so we're pulling this case right from a gardening diary entry dated May 15, 2026. It's by a gardener named Ang from their Notes on Gardening series. Our patient today is a Holy Basil plant, or ocimum-basilicum if you want to get scientific. And what makes this particular plant super cool is its origin story. It actually sprouted all on its own from a main plant Ang had bought earlier, basically thanks to the wind doing some totally natural propagation. Just a happy, completely organic accident in the garden.
Section 2. The telltale symptoms. So, this wind-propagated basil started out thriving, but soon enough it started dropping some really disturbing visual clues. Upon closer inspection, Ang noticed the yellowing wasn't just some general all-over fade. No, it was hyper-localized. The discoloration was showing up mostly at the tips of the plant, specifically targeting those brand new top leaves. And guys, this is a massive clue. When a plant gets sick, exactly where that sickness shows up first, like old growth at the bottom versus new growth at the top, tells us exactly what kind of internal battle the plant is fighting.
Now get a load of this specific color contrast on the affected leaves. It's wild. The fleshy tissue itself turns this pale, sickly yellow, but the veins, they remain a stark, healthy green. It creates this highly distinct, almost web-like pattern all across the leaf. This isn't just a leaf dying of old age. This is a very specific, deliberate biological signal.
This exact combo, the yellow tissue with the stark green veins, is a textbook sign of a condition called intervenal-chlorosis. Sounds like a mouthful, but intervenal literally just means between the veins, and chlorosis is a loss of the green pigment chlorophyll. When you see this striking pattern pop up, it's basically a botanical distress beacon. The plant is desperately waving a red flag, warning you about a very specific nutrient lockout.
Section 3. Diagnosing the root cause.
Okay, so we've identified the intervenal-chlorosis. But why is this plant suddenly lacking what it needs to stay green? Well, Ang played detective, surveyed the environment, and gathered some absolutely crucial clues. The garden had recently been hit with some really heavy downpours. And during those storms, Ang noticed the water was just pooling right on the soil surface, not soaking in at all. As any seasoned gardener will tell you, surface pooling after a rainstorm is a classic, undeniable dead giveaway for heavy clay soil.
And here's the real kicker. Heavy clay soil isn't just a physical brick wall for water. It brings a huge chemical challenge to the table, too. You see, heavy clay is naturally alkaline, meaning it has a really high pH. And this high pH environment actively sabotages the plant. It basically throws an invisible chemical padlock onto the nutrients that are already sitting there right in the dirt.
It is literally a biological domino effect playing out underground. Let's break it down. First, that alkaline clay soil causes the rainwater to pool. Because of that pooling, the poor plant's roots are suffocating, literally struggling to breathe in this waterlogged muck. And at the exact same time, the naturally high pH of that clay chemically blocks the roots from absorbing iron. The iron is right there, but the plant is entirely locked out from using it. This failure to absorb iron causes a severe iron deficiency, which is exactly what triggers that web-like intervenal-chlorosis we saw in the leaves earlier.
Section 4. The simple remedy.
All right, so we know our patient has an iron deficiency, brought on entirely by a suffocating, highly alkaline environment. The good news? You absolutely do not need some complex chemical intervention or a lab degree to fix this. The remedy here relies on one simple, fundamental rule of gardening: providing better drainage.
Ang's life-saving cure was beautifully straightforward. Just repot the Holy Basil into a fresh potting mix designed with much better drainage. By simply pulling the plant out of that heavy, alkaline, water-pooling clay and getting it into a well-draining home, Ang finally gave those roots the breathing room they were begging for.
Once the roots can actually breathe and the soil pH balances out thanks to the new mix, boom, the plant immediately starts absorbing iron again and the chlorosis reverses itself.
I think this case study is just such an awesome reminder of how perfectly logical nature actually is. By paying attention to the little details like, hey, are those veins staying green while the rest of the leaf turns yellow? Or is the water pooling up after a storm? You can become a top-tier botanical detective right in your own backyard. You don't have to guess, you just have to observe. Which leaves me wondering, taking what we've unpacked today about these visual clues, what is your garden trying to tell you right now?